With regular email, there's no easy or simple way to let the recipient know what the email is related to. We can obviously use the subject line, but that's hard to standardize and control. In Aconex, we assign each mail a type, and this is similar to documents. It helps group similar mail items together. When we search for mail, we can search by type, and this makes it much easier to find specific correspondence. It also tells us quickly what the correspondence is about. It provides purpose and meaning, and that shouldn't be underestimated. All too often, communication is confused because the recipients did not understand the purpose or reason for the communication. It's worth recapping why we communicate. There are really only 3 reasons. The first is asking questions or requesting something. A request for information, or RFI, is a good example of this. Next is when we provide information or advice. For example, a consultant might provide information to a contractor, maybe in response to an RFI. The final reason is to provide direction or instruction, and there may be penalties if they're not dealt with inside a specific time frame. Examples include site instructions and change orders. Each mail in Aconex is numbered automatically and uniquely. This means you don't have to worry about duplicate references when looking at correspondence. Here's how the numbering works. First, there's the prefix for the organisation. This is managed by your organisation administrator, or org admin. It provides a very quick way to identify all the mails sent by your organisation. Next is the mail type code, and this is controlled by Aconex. As with the prefix, it's a quick way to identify mail types that are the same. Then the system automatically assigns a 6-digit sequential number. Simple, right? Having a unique identifier for each piece of mail helps identify communication threads, especially when there's a dispute. Let's finish off with a summary as to why mail types are important. First, they allow us to group together similar mail or correspondence. They provide purpose and meaning to our correspondence. And finally, they help us find, track and report more easily. And we'll take a look at mail reports in another video. A project can generate a lot of correspondence. Questions, answers, advice, instructions and so on. Let's open the mail register. We cover the basics of the register in another video, but let's do a quick recap. There are no folders. Instead, we search for and locate mail using various fields and tags. The mail register is organisation centric, and that means you get to see all the mail sent and received by your organisation, even if you didn't send or receive it directly. Even though there are no folders, the mail register does have 3 separate areas, and these are accessed via the tabs at the top. These allow you to see mail sent to your organisation, sent by your organisation, and mail that is still in draft and not sent. Here's a quick tip. Because there is often so much correspondence or mail, you can end up with an awful lot to search through. A handy way to reduce the number of mails being shown is to use this checkbox, and this will only show mail where you are the recipient. Let's do that now. Note the number of mail items before and now after. Let's search for some mail. The only mail you won't be able to see are those mail items that have been marked confidential, unless of course you're one of the confidential recipients. Did you know that we have projects on Aconex that have generated over 20 million mail items? You could waste an awful lot of time if you don't understand the basics of searching. Let's look at a simple but useful search. Remember, we're only looking at mail where we are the recipient. And that means we're focused on mail that we need to deal with or be across. Now we'll filter the list to show the overdue and outstanding items. Well, that's much better, right? By selecting just our mail and then overdue and outstanding, we can focus on what's really important. This is such a useful search, we've added it to every project under saved searches. Notice how each mail is numbered individually, and this is done automatically when you send a mail. It uses a very simple numbering convention, an organisation prefix followed by the mail type abbreviation and then a 6-digit sequential number. If you see mail items that have attachments, these are shown with a paperclip icon. That's it for this introduction to searching. Searching in the different areas, inbox, sent and drafts is the same. And as with the document register, we can sort the list using the various columns and export any results to Excel. Mail in Aconex is different to email. It uses fields. Let's open the mail register and show you how fields provide additional context and meaning to each piece of correspondence. We'll start by creating a blank mail. As you can see, it's very similar to an email. We'll start with the standard fields and then cover off a couple of examples of custom fields. First, we'll look at a request for information or an RFI. As you can see, the amount of information that we need to complete has changed. The fields highlighted in yellow are mandatory and must be completed before the mail can be sent. Let's look at each section of the screen in turn. First, we have the mail type that we've just selected. Then you have the to and CC sections, and these work just like email. You can send it to individuals or any mailing groups that have been created. Then we have a response required field. You can select a reason and here you can see respond by has been selected. Then you choose a date. This helps us track responses to important correspondence. And this mail will show on the recipient's task page until they respond to it. Then there's a subject and that's the same as regular email. Make sure the subject is meaningful. If you have a long list, it lets the recipient know what each one is about without having to open each one to find out more. At the bottom of the screen, we have the message box, and again, this is the same as regular email. Let's move back up to the middle section, and this contains fields which have been customized and configured for this project. These fields are managed by the project administrator. Each of these fields provides additional information to this mail. In this case, it's an RFI, but different fields can be added to different mail types. Here we have a variation. Different fields capture different information, and they can all be searched on in the mail register, and this means we can create some very powerful reports. We can also use the same field on different mail types, and that means that we can have consistency across the mail types and any subsequent reports. For example, the same field might be used on the request for information as well as the site instruction. And this is useful if you're trying to track the same piece of information across different mail types. Here's a tip. As with documents, we recommend not adding too many fields. Lots of fields means more time to complete the information before sending the mail. This could encourage people to take shortcuts or to use other communication methods. Then you have an incomplete communication trail. Used well, mail fields are very powerful. They give you that extra context that email doesn't, with the added benefit of powerful reports. We'll cover more advanced mail reporting in another video. In another lesson, we cover the basics of searching for mail. Now let's look at how we can customize the search results in the mail register. Sometimes it's useful if we want to display more information about the mail when we're listing the search results. Or maybe we want less information so we see a simpler set of results. Plus, we might need to configure the exact order of information in the results, for example, when we need to create a report. Let's jump into Aconex and get some search results. First, let's start by getting a shorter list of results. We'll select a specific mail type and hit search. One simple option to customize the results is to click a column header to change the sorting order. Not all columns allow for this, so look for the arrow symbols along the top. By default, mail is sorted by date, but if we click the mail number column, it will sort the mail by their unique number. Note the arrow symbol that appears. Initially it's shown pointing up, and that indicates an ascending order. If we click the column again, it will change to descending order. We can also change the number of results shown at the bottom of the page. The default is 25, but we can increase this to 100. But when you export the results to a report, it doesn't matter what this is set to. The report will contain all of the results. The last thing we'll look at is changing the information shown in the results. The Add and Remove Columns feature displays all the information available. We can choose what information is shown and the order of that information. And this is really great for creating custom reports. Let's see how we can make use of this. We'll select a couple of columns to remove to make the results less cluttered. You can double-click any item to move it from one side to the other, or use the Control key to select multiple columns to move across. See how that works? The columns are no longer shown in the results. It's really easy to customize your results and display the information exactly how you want it. And finally, if you want to use this search again and again, you can save it. And these then appear under Saved Searches. And this provides you with a one-click option to get results and reports quickly and easily. Here's a great tip. What if you want to see the responses to RFIs sent by your organisation on the same page? Well, you can. You open the Sent area, you search for RFIs only, and then you add a column called Replies. Now you'll see any replies to RFIs that your organisation has sent. And this is a great way of keeping track of what responses you've received and those you need to chase. So to recap, click the column headers to sort by that column or field. Add, remove and change the order of columns to get the results as you want them, and save the search for future use. It's great having all the project-related mail in one place, always available whenever you need it, wherever you are. But sometimes you might need to create a report. For example, you might need to check the RFIs that are overdue a response. Or maybe you need to stay on top of the daily site inspections that are coming in. What about non-conformance reports that have not been dealt with? There are plenty of other reasons. Any list of search results can be exported to an Excel spreadsheet and then either adapted further or simply printed off. Let's take a look at how this is done. Here we are in the mail register. Let's do a really simple search. We'll list just the RFIs that are overdue using the filters. To get this list into a simple report, we select Reports and then Export to Excel. We choose which option we want, and this will then generate the report and place it in the Temporary Files area under Documents. There could be a lot of files here depending on what others are doing, so here's a tip. Check the box to show My Uploads Only. And here it is. Its name includes the date and time it was generated. We can then simply download it. Once you've downloaded the report, you can do anything you need to do with it, as it's just a regular Excel document. And remember, this report is up to date at the time you generate it. As with a lot of things, a bit of time up front spent preparing the register with some saved searches will make it so much quicker and easier to create reports when you need them. In Aconex, we assign each mail a type. It helps group similar mail items together and provides clarity and consistency in our communications. They have purpose. Mail types also help us find, track and report more easily. When we search for mail, we can search by its type, making it easier to find specific pieces or types of correspondence. Now, don't make the mistake of underestimating the importance of this. Often there's confusion because people don't understand the purpose or reason for a communication. Let's jump into Aconex and look at how we create and send a new mail. First, we open the Mail menu and create a new blank mail. As you can see, it's very similar to regular email. We have to decide who we send it to, add any CC or copied recipients, and a meaningful subject and then a message. Let's choose a type from the list. Now remember that the list of available types will vary from project to project. In another lesson, we talked about the 3 basic reasons for communicating. We ask questions or request information, we provide answers or advice, and we provide direction or instruction. We're logged in as a contractor, so let's ask a question. On a typical project, questions are often sent as requests for information or RFIs. First of all, notice that this mail has some distribution rules assigned to it. These are managed by the administrator and determine who this RFI will always go to. You can't override this, but you can preview the list of recipients. And typically this is configured so that certain people or groups of people always get a copy of the RFI, and that's often for compliance purposes. Now we need to decide who to send it to. One method is to type part of someone's name in the to and CC boxes. But we'll look at another method which comes in very handy if we can't quite remember somebody's name. We click to or directory and this opens the project directory, and this is where we can search for anyone that's on the project. In this example, let's assume we know the name of the company but not the person. In the organisation box, we'll type the first part of the company name and hit search. Now we see a little more detail about each person in the company, and in this case we're going to select Peter and John. Then we'll add them to the to list. This project directory is where we can find everyone on the project, and it can be accessed at any time via the directory menu. Let's click OK to return to our new mail and complete the remaining details. We'll complete the subject line and then the other details. And in this case, there are prompts about schedule and cost impacts. And this details section will vary from project to project and mail type to mail type. Finally, the question. We'll also set a response due date about a week from now. Now on that note, some projects may have specific contractual requirements for things like RFIs, so be sure to check with your administrator. Finally, we click send and that's it. It's given a unique reference number automatically. As you can see, mail is really simple to use, but the key difference from regular email is that we select a mail type to provide the recipients with intent and purpose. As you complete other lessons related to mail, you'll see a lot of similarities to regular email. The big difference is that Aconex uses mail types. Let's open Aconex and take a look at how you reply to mail. It's very simple. First, we'll open a piece of mail by clicking its subject. This one's a transmittal, but it's the same for any mail type. Then we click reply. Now we see a similar page to the one we see when creating a new mail. First, we select the mail type, and the only thing we'll need to consider here is whether there are specific mail types that must be used for responses. For example, a contractor may respond to all RFIs from subcontractors with a site instruction. Depending on the type of mail you use to reply, you may have additional details to complete, but other than that, we complete the details and hit send, and that's it. We can also forward mail as well. Replying to mail is very simple. The key difference is selecting a mail type to provide the recipient with the intent and purpose. As we send and reply to mail in Aconex, the system automatically links the mail items together as threads. And this can be really useful to see where correspondence originally started and who's involved. We'll open up Aconex and take a closer look. To make it easier, we've already searched just for the RFIs. Let's open a mail item to look at its thread. We'll pick this one. On the left, we see the mail thread, and here you can see there are several items. These are linked in some way. Maybe there was a reply to the original mail, or maybe it was forwarded. Whatever the reason, it makes it really easy to find related correspondence. The mail we just opened is highlighted at the top of the thread, and then you can see the details on the right. You can also see that we've had a response to this mail, and we'll come back to that soon. You can open any mail in the thread, assuming you have access to it, and essentially that means you are part of the same organisation or a recipient. The next one is one that's been forwarded. Then we have one that's still in draft. And the last one actually shows the response. Some correspondence threads can be quite complicated, but being able to see the thread and access the mail easily at any point in that thread makes those long conversations much easier to manage and navigate. The thread can be invaluable and can help resolve issues when there is confusion as to how a conversation got started. As always, each mail has its own unique number along with its type, and you'll also see the numbers in the thread. To finish off, we can also quickly see what the response was to the original mail by clicking the responded label. In this example, it confirms the mail number we see at the bottom of the thread. And that's it. You won't necessarily use the mail thread every day, but it's good to know that it's always there when you need to figure out the history of a conversation, especially one that happened some time ago. Depending on how your user account was created, you might want to check your personal details. Let's take a look. Here we are on the task page. Anything to do with preferences and options are found under the Setup menu. Let's look at your personal details, and you can find these under Account Details. You can see that some of the information is mandatory, and that's highlighted in yellow and marked with a red star. This information is what others can see in the project directory, and they may use this to contact you. And this makes it important to ensure that the relevant details are correct and current. All you need to do is edit or amend the relevant information and click Save. It's that simple. The only thing you can't change is your name, and this is because each project must maintain an audit trail of everything that's happened. If you do need to, for example, you may have changed your name through marriage, give our service desk team a call and they'll change this for you. Notice too that at the top is a password button, and this is where you can change your password. Your organisation administrator can override certain settings here like the password strength, so keep that in mind if you find some options unavailable. And that's it. Just make sure your details are always up to date. There are many ways you can configure Aconex to your own personal requirements. Let's take a look. We'll open up the Preferences area via the Setup menu. We're going to look at the 4 most common preferences that most people change. These preferences also cause frustration for users when they don't know how to change them. At the top, we see tabs for User, Project and Organisation, and you may not see all of these depending on your level of access. Let's start with the time zone. Scroll down and click the Edit button alongside time zone. Your project admin may have set this as a default for your company, but you may need to change it if you're in a different location. Select the relevant time zone and click Save. Next is language. You may need to remove the tick in the default column to change this. Select the preferred language and click the Save button. Now keep in mind this only alters the various buttons, screen labels and menu items. It won't actually translate anything like documents. Then we have session time. This is the amount of time the system will keep you logged in if there is no activity. Again, you may have to remove the tick in the default column to change this. Select the number of hours you require and click Save. It's important to understand that this could represent a security risk if it's set to a very long period of time. Lastly, we'll look at email notification types. This preference determines the type of email notification that you receive for any mail that includes you as a recipient. Again, you may have to remove that tick in the default column to change anything. There are 4 options. First of all, none, and that's easy. That means you don't get any notifications. Notification only is the default, and it means that you get a simple notification but no content, and that means you'll have to log into Aconex to read it and find out what the mail is about. Then we have entire mail body. This is the full copy of the mail, including the message in the mail body. And this is a great option as it means you can read the mail without logging into Aconex. But there is a downside. This option automatically marks the mails as being read and will not appear on your task page. That's not a huge problem, but it's something to keep in mind. The last option is entire mail body with attachments. And this is the same as the previous option, but it also includes any attachments. If those attachments are very large, the notification provides a download link instead of actually attaching them, and this makes it less likely that your organization's email system will refuse the notification due to the attachment size. So that's 4 easy preferences that you can easily control to make Aconex work better for you. Most email clients allow you to personalize your email signature, and we can do the same in Aconex. Let's open the Preferences area via the Settings menu. Now, depending on your role, you may see more tabs along the top. For this video, we'll focus on the User tab. And this area contains all your personal preference options. Some of these can be overridden by your project administrator. There are lots of options here, and most of them you'll probably never need to change, so let's scroll down to the mail options. To create a mail signature, we click the Edit button. And there are 2 main options. We can create a new one from scratch, or copy an existing one from something like Outlook. Either way, we start by creating a new signature. And we'll go with HTML as this allows us some creativity with formatting and colour. We give the signature a name and then just enter the text into the box provided. The toolbar has various options for formatting, and the quickest method is just to copy and paste an existing signature. Once copied in, we can amend it and refine it as we need to. And once we're happy, we click Save. We can create multiple signatures if we want to and set the default one here as well. Each time we create a new mail, our default signature will appear in the mail body automatically. But we can change it using the drop-down list, and this can be useful if you have different signatures for different purposes. Mail signatures are a great way to ensure others have some basic contact details for you when they receive mail. Anyone who has access to this project, and we do that using the fields. So you can search for a company name, first and last name, or job title. Let's try a simple search. Remember, we're only looking at people that have access to this project. That is, they've been invited to this project at some point in time. We'll search for the first part of a company's name. And that's how easy it is. Now we can see who from a particular company is part of the project. If someone we expect to see is not shown, we can invite them, and we cover that in another video. If we click on someone in the list, we'll see some additional details for them. Everyone is responsible for their own details, and we cover how to make sure these are correct and up to date in another video too. We search through the global directory in the same way. Just keep in mind that the global directory is much larger, and therefore you might have to be a little bit more specific with your searches. In other lessons, we learned how to send mail and reply to mail. But what if the person we need to send a mail to is not actually on the project? That's when we need to invite them. The only proviso is that they must have an Aconex user account. To invite someone, all we need to do is send them a piece of mail. Let's start a new blank mail to demonstrate this. First, the mail type isn't important. Any type of mail will do. But it's probably not a good idea to send them a mail type that is too official sounding, as that may be confusing. We click To or Directory, and this opens the project directory. Notice that there are two tabs at the top of the search options. We're going to search in the global directory. Keep in mind that the directory will contain thousands of names. We'll make this one simple by searching for just an organisation name. Before we add someone to the new mail, we must make sure it's the right person. If they have a common name, it's easy to pick the wrong one, so take your time, and if there's any confusion, double check the details with a colleague. If you do invite the wrong person, you'll need to contact our service desk to get them removed. Once we've found who we're looking for, we add them to the mail recipient list and send the mail. That's it. But there are a couple of scenarios where this is not automatic, and that depends on the configuration of the project. The project administrators can restrict the method of invitation so that all invites have to be approved by them first. They can also turn off the invite mechanism altogether. And in this scenario, you won't see the global directory tab, and you'll need to contact the project administrator if this is the case. But what if you can't find the person you're looking for in the global directory? Well, there are two options. The first is to get them to register via our help site. And note, you can't do this on their behalf, they must do it themselves. But once they've registered, you'll be able to invite them. The second option is to create a guest account for them. At the top of the screen, you'll see Create Guest. Here you can enter the required details, and all that's needed to send them a mail is their email address. Guest accounts are not able to log into Aconex or any projects, but they can receive email notifications and attachments. And this type of account is useful for people if they have very little contact with the project team, for example, a legal advisor. Lastly, notice that the people that have a full user account are shown with this icon next to their name, and guest accounts have this icon. Let's finish this course with a recap of what we've covered and what's next. But first, congratulations. If you've completed all the lessons and topics in this course, well done. We know it's hard sometimes finding the time to learn new things. So, here's what we've covered. There were only 2 lessons. We looked at finding some personal settings and preferences. Then we learned how to find others on the project and invite them. Remember to make sure your details are up to date so that others can find you easily. You've now completed course 4. You then have 3 more courses to complete if you want to finish the associate level learning. If you've completed all 4, then you're finished with the associate learning. So what's next? If you want, you can pay a small fee to take the associate assessment and get your accreditation. Details can be found on the course page. Then you can move on to the professional level learning, which builds on what you've learnt here. It's great if you're going to be using Aconex a lot. Again, details can be found on the course page. Good luck and happy learning.